how do you discern which notes to keep and which ones to just ignore? I mean, at what point does that, obviously because there's an ego that happens where you're like, oh, but you just don't get it.
Yeah. You have to calibrate it totally like everything else. I don't think it should be ego, but it should be mathematical, in my opinion. It should be if 2 or 3 people who you value their opinions say the same thing, even if you don't, and if you have 10 people who you don't value their opinions say the same thing, you probably should take the note. Because that's just like a sample of people reading your script, right? And most of the time, you can even, and that's at this point in our career, like giving a script to someone who isn't even necessarily, I mean, someone has to have a good sense of writing-ish, but they don't have to be writers necessarily when I'm trying to get feedback sometimes. Sometimes they'll send it to a student of mine. They're writers, but they're definitely unrefined, but they have good taste. That's really helpful because I know what I'm saying. It's always going to end up on an executive's desk, and executives aren't writers. They're just people who are thinking like the public and thinking like what sells and what gets my attention. So you kind of just have to write to that too. And so if you can get one of my students to like my script, they might not get all the exactly what I'm going for or whatever, but like if they really liked it and they're not just blown like, and that's also hard because there's a power dynamic there, and they're like they want to say it's good. I'm like, no, tell me if it's bad. So maybe that actually doesn't work, but that's what I'm trying right now. But like that, I forget where I was going with that. But like basically, if you're getting a note from someone you respect their opinion, you should probably take it. Unless it's just like totally starts turning the script into something that you don't feel like writing. Okay. If that's happening, then don't take the note. Keep trying to do the thing you're doing. For example, my wife and I are writing. The script that got us a bunch of meetings was about literally like a female teacher who sleeps with an underage student, like a female pedophile, so to speak. I mean, it is an unlikable character, very hard character to get behind, but that was our whole goal in writing it. And so if we're getting a note, we got a note, that got us a lot of meetings. It got us staffed on 2 or 3 shows, 3 shows now. So, but I remember originally when we first started writing, I sent it to this one executive who was like, ugh, like, he just like hated it. It was just like, well, she's so unlikable. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but like, for you,
that character shouldn't be likable.
Yeah, well, no, our goal was to try to like, it's not about likability, but you're just reading it from a different lens, and I can't help that. And it's a polarizing script for that reason. Some people hate it, some people like it. But we knew that it was, if it's completely, you have a problem with the premise from the get-go, then I'm like, sorry, it's not for you. Then I'm not like, well, let me change it so it's just about a teacher. No, I'm not going to write that script.
For new writers starting out who are starting to put their scripts out there for the first time and getting notes back, what would be the advice you'd give them on how to learn to discern, kind of in those early goings?
Sorry, what was your question? Say it again.
So for new writers who are starting out and are starting to send their scripts out there for the first time, as they're getting notes, do you have any advice for them as to how to learn to discern those notes?
I would, again, anyone who's, take the note from, if you understand the note, take the note from the person who is, if you're getting a note from a professional writer or a teacher, take the note. Like a lot of times the notes, especially when you're starting out, let's say you're taking a class, right? Again, I'm teaching classes. So you're taking it, and I know what this is like. Students are writing something that they really love and it's their story, but it doesn't fit the rules. And when you're starting out, like anything, obey the rules. There are rules that you learn in classes. There are like, every character should have a goal. Every scene should inform that goal. Should drive the character towards another, which should have conflict in it. The character should want something, should go up against an object who comes in the way of that, which then should drive them to the next scene, which is part of the same goal that continues the next scene until the beginning of the storyline, they started their goal, the end of the storyline, they either complete it or fail. Those are rules, right? And so sometimes, and it seems very stifling to have those rules, and I've been in programs and stuff where I was held to those rules, and I hated it. I was like, I don't care.
Right.
I was like, I want to do my thing. I know those rules. I want to do my thing. Well, it's like, no. For now, when you're starting out, learn how to do the thing within the realms of the rules. Then once you do that, make it good within those rules, and then break them. But don't start out breaking rules.
Right.
Because I think, you can, whatever, do whatever you want. But I think it's really helpful to do that, to learn the rules right. And then you can start working on other kinds of techniques and taking risks.